jam.
Don't worry, I won't bite you. Not yet. Let's see, maybe we can,
What kind of a girl do you think I am?
That's such a fun tune. I didn't want to just shut it off.
You couldn't help yourself. You just wanted to hear
I
it.
know. I just dig, like, usually, not always, but I usually end up really digging my Spotify Discover Weekly. I found this really cool tune. I'll play it for you later. Called Heterosexual Man by Odds. It's just right up my alley. It's
Sounds
very
dirty.
quirky. Yeah, dirty and quirky and fun. So, we are live. Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. So we're giving everybody a second, get everybody to jump on.
They're
We're
jumping.
We're going to be talking about the greatest albums, the greatest years for albums. And Lily's got a list, and I got a list. We got the internet, and we're going to talk to you guys. Because you guys are so beautiful. It just said I'm a pretty thing every day, and we love it very much. So, anyway,
Real quick, some people are asking why are we not on the Rock Rage page. We are not posting on that page currently, so please watch it from the group Rock Rage Radio page. For now.
there is a glitch in the Facebook matrix.
Because Facebook is a bitch.
Bitch book. Mark Fuckerberg.
So
we've been burger fucked.
So we need to just go onto the group page.
And it's not us, it's everybody. So don't, it's not
Don't
like,
think it's 'cause we swear.
Because I immediately messaged John Coons this morning, like, did we do something wrong? He's like, no, it's not you. He says, there's an issue with Facebook and we're working on it. So
It's everyone.
So just so all y'all know. All y'all.
So until further notice, watch from this page.
Yeah, watch from this page. Come here, and I'm on my own page, and I'm also on the group and some other places too. So we're on YouTube. So it's there.
You'll find us.
Yeah, we're all there. We're all.
Well, we're not all there. But
We're all right, just like Cheap Trick said. So that's what's going on, and we're doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the recording started, and we're going to get this bitch underway. So here we go. Okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3. There were some great years for rock and metal albums, but which ones were the absolute best? What year saw the release of the most iconic and important rock and metal albums of all time? Want to find out? Stick around. You're listening to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. Welcome back, everybody. It is the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Our website is ludinirockandrollcircus.com. It's going to be a great show tonight. We're going to be counting down the greatest years for album releases. Some of you guys that are younger, you may not know what an album is. Go to YouTube and Google it, and you'll find out.
sick.
Yes.
That's so sad. It hurts my brain.
But our website is LudiniRockandRollCircus.com. More stuff coming up all the time. We're adding new categories. I recently started doing a lyric talk show where I take a song and we talk about the lyrics based on audience suggestions, of course. The first one was Tom Sawyer by Lily's favorite band, Rush. And the second one was Blinded by the Light by Lily's favorite singer, Bruce Springsteen.
No, I like Bruce. That's key.
But it was so it's been really cool. And if you guys have suggestions for that, you can let me know over at LouLombardiRocks.com. That is our private group, and where we will be partying after the podcast. So don't forget to pop over there. It just takes a minute to request entry. It is a closed group. So you have to, it's not open to the public, so you can't just search it and join in. So you want to go to LouLombardiRocks.com. Cool people, lots of great videos and lots of great conversation and people posting music. I'm like learning about all kind of cool bands in there and everything. So LouLombardiRocks.com. We've got the lovely and talented Lily V6 with us tonight. Lily.
Yeah.
Speak to me, girl. What in the world is going on in Lily V6 land?
Well, I just got back from Rochester, New York, because I was at Scaricon, which is
Get on a ton.
which was a horror convention held for 3 days at this cute little hotel with all these fun celebrities.
Cute.
But I met Phil Fondacaro from Willow / Return of the Jedi / Troll / Ghoulies.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, the little person? You don't say midget anymore, right? So, he's a little person. I don't know the rules anymore, but he was
Half
super
pint.
nice. He was super nice. And then,
You didn't toss him, did you?
no, I shook his hand, which was kind of spacey. But anyway, he signed a photo for me.
You mean the guy that actually played Willow?
No, he doesn't play Willow. He plays another character, but
Oh.
he's important.
Okay. He's impotent.
He's important in the movie. And then the cast from Terrifier was there, and I saw the main character, Art the Clown, in his makeup and out of his makeup. I was terrified. Pun. In his makeup and wasn't so scared at all out of his makeup. And I met Sleazy P. Martini from Guar, and he took a photo with me as well. And he was sleazy, as they say. There was a beautiful tribute to Sid Haig as well. They had his photo up, and you could put pictures in his photo album and write a little message to him, which I thought was super nice.
Oh,
But it was
Sid.
3 days of fun.
Sid Haig. Did you see 3 from Hell yet?
I did not. It's out on DVD now, though. You can buy it at Walmart, apparently.
Wow, really? It's already on DVD?
They only did a 3-day showing in the theater and then released a DVD. That was
Okay.
deliberate.
I will probably watch it at some point.
I eventually will. We need to do a showing. Or not a showing, but we need to just watch it here.
But it's... Devil's Rejects was too much for me.
Really?
Yeah, it was just too gritty, too
I
bleak,
gotta see it now, though.
too evil. You've seen it, right?
No, that. I just mean
Yeah.
3 from Hell. I've gotta add that onto my...
Well,
list of
it's
things.
one of those things, like I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, I saw Devil's Rejects, now I have to see it, which is saying something, because there's a lot of movies of that ilk that are really dark and nasty that I don't have to see the sequels, like Hostel 2, and those,
Oh,
I
yeah.
like, no.
I didn't like Hostel original.
Yeah, so, but these, I thought that Rob Zombie's movies were, are good enough. They that they make you kind of like, okay, I want to kind of see what else he's going to do. I know that a lot of people do not like a lot of things he's done, but honestly, I've been happy with
I
pretty
everything
much
that he
like,
does.
I like Lords of Salem. I know that's controversial, and I liked his Halloween.
A lot of people
I know a
did
lot
not
of people
like his
completely disagree with it, but I thought they were dark and brutal and gritty. And
I liked his
it.
take on it.
I did too, and I liked the fact that he brought all these great actors. This is some of the old scream queens. He brought them in. Well, he did that in Devil's Rejects. He brought in Karen Black and some of these people. So I am. So I will probably sit down and watch it. Probably with like a little bit of my hand over my face, because the gore and stuff just doesn't.
You don't do the gore.
No, it's a little too much. So we're not here to talk too much about movies. We might get into that in the after show a little bit. But there's a cool show coming up this weekend at the Subalpine on Sunday the 27th. And what bands are playing at that, Lily?
We have Burger Kill, and I did just announce it. Hold on, give me 1 second. It is Burger Kill, Suaka, and 20,000 Metal Dicks.
20,000 Metal Dicks. Burger Kill, and what's the other band's name?
Suaka, I believe is how you pronounce that.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
All right, if we pronounced the band name wrong, I apologize. I did that one time at the pub. I got up and I had a little too much libations,
Sometimes it's happens.
and I mispronounced the band's name. And to this day, I feel really, really bad. And they were mad at me. They thought that I was doing it intentionally. So, like, I just don't pronounce anybody's names
Maybe
anymore.
you should just have a name that's easy to say.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit of a tongue twister. I'll tell you guys.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about the band because they're really nice guys, and I've seen them since. They're just they're a great band. But I don't want to
I do the
Anyways,
same thing.
so we're going to get into it here in a minute. But this is a band called Storm Dragon. Strike Me Down on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
Annihilation dividing the lows. The righteous come forth at your feet as I see. So silence is golden, I close my eyes. Strike me down by the edge of my sword.
Storm Dragon, everybody. Strike Me Down. Whether you like it or not. Cool band.
I love them.
Yeah, local guys too. Just
Super local.
Yeah, like
Down the street.
yeah, pretty much. Let me go ahead and give you guys the Storm Dragon website. That is stormdragon.bandcamp.com. Okay, rock and roll, punk rock, pop rock, metal. There's been years where there's been like a flood of really cool albums. So we're going to be talking about the best years. So I always like to start with Lily because she's our sort of resident rock historian. She's the one that really kind of does most of the research and everything. I'm busy with the more technical aspects and trying to get this madness going. So what do you got, Lily? What's on your list of...
Mine.
Are we ranking them in any order? Or are you going chronologically, or
I didn't even do that.
Okay.
I'm all
that's
over.
totally fine.
I'm all over the place.
That's totally fine. So what do you got?
All right, so 1969. We'll just start with an early one there. So for albums that came out that year, Led Zeppelin and Led Zeppelin 2, Abbey Road and Yellow Submarine, Let It Bleed by the Rolling Stones, Tommy by the Who. Sorry, I was going to read that completely
The
backwards.
Who by Tommy.
In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson, The Stooges by the Stooges, and In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, Iron Butterfly.
Wow.
And that was also, of course, the year of Woodstock. David Bowie released Space Oddity in time for the Apollo moon landing. CCR released 3 albums. I didn't read that. Bayou County, Green River, and Willie and the Poor Boys. And Elvis Presley returns to number 1 after a 7-year absence. And it was his comeback show after his depression from albums, since they haven't been doing so well as he had hoped.
I know. See, what happened? Now there were albums before 1967, but 1967 is where the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper, and that is when rock and roll became rock and became more like an art form, and people were interested in albums. And that early era, from 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, it's this really kind of magical thing that happened with tons and tons of and bands that were really birthed new sounds. I'm sure we're going to be talking about Black Sabbath a little bit later on at some point as well. We mentioned Led Zeppelin. Just one groundbreaking thing
Explosion
after another happened around that era. So I imagine that our list will consist of a few different years around that time. But Led Zeppelin released Led Zeppelin 1 and 2 in the
same year.
That's great.
Right? I mean, CCR did 3. The Beatles did 2. That was crazy, because, you wait years and years for albums now, and it's just exhausting.
Well, I mean, you can, yeah. So the Beatles, Led Zeppelin released 2, CCR releases 3, and it took Guns N' Roses 11 years
to release a crappy one, which was in the dollar bin at Ollie's the other day, by the way.
Oldies. Although that had from what I understand, that record had
it had great sales.
What?
And
no. I mean, Chinese Democracy. I heard that it had good critical reviews.
Did.
Yeah,
it really did.
So yeah, 1969, moon landing, David Bowie, just amazing stuff there. So what do you got next?
1971 is on my list next. Led Zeppelin 4.
Of course, Led Zeppelin. They just keep cranking.
Who's Next by The Who, Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones, Master of Reality by Black Sabbath, the Yes album and Fragile by Yes, At Fillmore East by the Allman Brothers, Imagine by John Lennon, and Aqualung by Jethro Tull.
Holy cow!
Grand Funk Railroad plays Shea Stadium that year, becoming the second band after the Beatles to sell it out. Bob Dylan plays a surprise New Year's Eve performance with the band. And T-Rex goes electric and scores a number 1 album in the UK and launches glam rock. So there you go.
The launch of glam rock. All, just that's like a cherry on top.
But yeah, Zeppelin again, of course, and The Who again, and the Rolling Stones again.
That is, Excuse me, I'm lost my train of thought. Who's Next is my favorite Who album. I
Okay.
think it's their crowning achievement. I think it's like the culmination of everything they were doing. Yes, Tommy is amazing from a couple of years earlier, but this is just and he was to do, from what I understand, Pete Townsend had, and I cannot remember the name of it, but he had another concept lined up, and Who's Next was to be that. And there were songs that were part of this next rock opera or continuing rock opera thing that he just couldn't get off. He couldn't put that together. But some of the songs survived, and one of them was Bubba O'Reilly.
Yes, it's a good one.
Yeah. And so, it's got, Won't Get Fooled Again, Bubba O'Reilly, just...
For you people that don't know any better, Teenage Wasteland is what other people call it.
Yeah, it is so... It's a magical record, and I have the record memorized. I've listened to it over and over and over. I got it on vinyl, and when they released it for streaming, this is something I freaking hate. They released it for streaming, and the song ends, the album ends, and it should end. I have it I know when the record ends. Big finish.
Mm-hmm.
No, and
Doesn't
after
have
that,
it.
there's some other outtakes and extra. I'm like, no, that's not. No.
And you were
stop.
upset about it. I understand that.
Make that a separate thing. Give me the record that I just because
that you know.
See what you youngsters out there don't realize is bands would put an album together and they would carefully pick, especially somebody like Pete Townsend, who's like a songwriting machine.
Mm-hmm.
They would pick the best stuff, and they would order it so that the album, even if it wasn't a quote unquote concept album, that the album kind of made a one big statement from beginning to end. It was like a little bit of a journey.
It was a
And
story.
we're gonna talk about a Prince album that's a lot like that a little bit later on. But that was almost even pop acts. It was important that the album had a beginning, and kind of would build up, and then you would turn the album over. So there was a little break, and you would turn the album over, and you would listen to the other side. In the 80s, you flipped the cassette over and listened to the other side.
And then CDs came out and you don't have to worry about that.
And CDs came out and got rid of all that.
And that's
which-
where it should have stopped.
Well, maybe. There was something cool about the sides, though. There was something cool because there were a lot of albums that people did. They would do one sort of thing on one side, and then the other side was different. They might do. There were albums where one side was live, one side was studio. There were albums where one side was primarily acoustic, the other side was more electric. So it was it was something that you could do. It lent itself to doing different things. But everybody, when the album became a thing, especially once Sgt. Pepper's happened, then people took the album as an art form really seriously. The artwork, what did you do? See, you're too young to remember. But what you did was you laid in bed, you put the record on, either with the maybe we had to, in my house, I had to put headphones on so my parents wouldn't know what I was doing. And I would sit there and stare at the album cover.
I'm not too young. I know what he's talking about.
And you would look at the album cover because it was artwork. So that's why this is so important, and nobody's doing this today. You don't get this now. There's just this idea because the culture moves so fast. We are on to the next thing. Do you ever remember North Korea being a thing? That's over.
I do
that was
remember
the biggest
that.
thing ever, and it's nobody talks about it now.
No.
Immigration, that was huge, and it's gone. No, we're talking to someone else. It's we're constantly, what's the next thing? The next thing, I got the next thing, so nothing ever has a chance to really kind of breathe and kind of gain. Some of the great albums of all time were not out of the gate explosions. Nirvana's Nevermind, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. These were all albums that kind of took a while to kind of build, and then one song would break, and then people go, "What is that?" And people want to hear the rest of the album. So the album is just kind of a lost art form in that way, and it's just so amazing that we had these different blocks of history where we've got these bursts of amazing music. We had Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, The Who releasing amazing records all in 1 year. I mean, it's like it blows my mind. Okay, so I'm sorry. So I digress.
No, you're good. You went
Well,
on
that's
a
what I like to
thing
do.
there.
That's my job. I like to provide some commentary and some perspective. So what do you got there, Mr. Lily von Sick?
We're gonna jump a couple decades to 1991. I don't really like the 90s music, but it is an important time in rock history. So the album's released in
That's very
1991.
mature of you. To be
I
able to
know.
acknowledge that.
Nirvana's Nevermind, Pearl Jam's 10, Metallica's The Black Album, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 by Guns N' Roses, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Bad Motorfinger by Soundgarden.
That is unbelievable.
All
That's incredible.
amazing
That's
albums.
all amazing albums that like exchanged like every one of those records are wildly influential. Like kids picked up guitars because of those records.
They wanted to be those people. They
People
wanted to play
wanted
like
to be
that.
those people. I mean, it was revolutionary. It was life changing. I remember 1991. I was how old was I?
I was 10.
I was like 23, something like that. And I remember I felt like, okay, this is I felt like the 90s were my late 60s, early 70s. Because it was just like, oh my God, another great record. Oh my God, another great record. And even the pop records that came out, there was some really memorable, influential pop albums that came out in that era. Do you remember somebody named Alanis Morissette releases Jagged Little Pill? And like,
That was huge
I
for
mean, it was
females.
Huge. It was huge for women, and it got a lot of girls interested in playing rock music. She was edgy. You know, she was not Madonna. She was not what was to become Britney Spears or any like. She was like, but she like hammered out.
She was a grunge girl.
Yeah,
basically.
she hammered that out in the pop arena. Just, you know, I mean, I know, and a lot of people, you know, I mean, another band that came out around that same era was the Counting Crows, completely different sounding band. Blues Traveler, completely different. All these bands were so different and just grabbing people, and it was just this musical explosion. But 1991, give me this record. So we get the Black Album too by Metallica.
Yeah, Metallica.
So you've got Nirvana's what? Nevermind.
Nevermind. 10.
At 10, and the Black Album, Bad Motorfinger, and Blood Sugar Sex,
And Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
and Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. All very different.
Mm-hmm.
Very different records, all wildly influential. That Chili Peppers album was nothing to sneeze at. That was a total force.
Some people sort of overlook it, and I think it's because people forget the year and everything. But I think it's a great album. So and that's all.
Wildly influential band on alternative and bands that came a little bit later on that brought in more like ska and you know and funk influences into rock. Great band. Flea. What can I say?
Flea.
Flea. You want to do one more, or we'll play another song?
We can do one more. I'm jumping back now though to the 60s.
Jump back. We haven't talked about the 80s yet. I can't even talk about the 80s yet.
I only have a couple in the 80s, quite honestly.
We'll get to the 80s a little bit later.
1967, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles, The Doors by the Doors, Axis, Bold as Love, and Your Experience by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Disraeli Gears by Cream, and The Who Sell Out by The Who. I think all great. Also, The Summer of Love, of course.
Yeah.
Landmark albums from several amazing musicians, and actually the world's first large-scale outdoor music fest is held, Monterey Pop Festival, 165,000 in attendance. Obviously, that's not as many as Woodstock, but it was the first one, so way cool.
Yeah, there was this great period until Altamont, where then it all got ugly after and then the Manson thing happened. Not Marilyn Manson, the Charles Manson thing happened. And I have to say this, that era is beautifully portrayed in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I gotta see that.
That it just you feel that he did a beautiful job of feeling that late 60s era before the whole Manson thing happened and really kind of soured the rest of the world and brought in a lot of cynicism. It was a very innocent time. People were not used to this. It's funny because we take the Beatles, the Who, Jimi Hendrix, and the Doors. We take them for granted.
We do.
We're just like, yeah, well, it's the Beatles. but it blew people's minds when they heard an album. Okay, check this out.
I'm checking it.
It's not just an album, first of all, of great songs, which it is, which all could be standalone. It's just in like an album like Dark Side of the Moon that has a lot of songs that stand alone, but kind of, there's a lot of stuff also in Dark Side of the Moon that is experimental and it needs to kind of be heard in context. Every one of those songs of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band could be just a standalone pop tune. But they're organized in such a way that they are a concept album, number one. And the concept is, we're not the Beatles. We are Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This like fried people's brains. They were like, and you got to understand, people are experimenting. This is we take drugs for granted. Everybody oh yeah, rockers do drugs, but that was a whole thing. It was a new thing. They were experimenting with mind altering substances, LSD,
all the things,
marijuana, all kinds of stuff that would take them, would take you on this journey. You would listen to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and all kind of people had all kind of experiences with this, and it just was a complete revolution. And it is really, like I said a little bit earlier, it is considered the year where rock kind of grew up. It went from being, cutesy, poppy, kind of like, poo-pooed by a lot of serious musicians. But when Sgt. Pepper's came out, everybody was like, wow, this is like, there's some stuff going on here. This is out of control. Speaking of out of control, this is a band that, we are pretty much in love with here at the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. This is Reign of Z, Dysmorphia. Check them out. We'll be right back with some more best years for album releases in music in general. Talk to you guys in a minute.
I am not enough. Demons in my head, altering my
Reign of Z, everybody. Dysmorphia. Hold on. No, Pump 5, it's not your turn yet. Calm down. I want to correct something real quick. Those of you watching the live feed, it says Top 10 Rock and Metal Rags and Riches Stories. I forgot to change the titles in my software, so it's describing last week's show.
I think they figured it out, though.
So I apologize if that's caused any confusion with everybody out there. So, but we are discussing rock's greatest years. And Lily, my question for you is: are we ever going to talk about the 1980s?
We will. You know, 80s is my shit, so we'll
80s my
definitely
shit.
we'll definitely talk about the 80s.
And Bill says the background music is distracting him.
But in the meantime, while Lou's taking a look at that real quick, I'm going to read some shout-outs here.
Shout-outs.
We have Tim Paul watching, Chris Thunderwolf Dodson watching, David Ferretti, Bill Damiano. I'm watching, obviously. Bob Ridgway, Bob Piercy, Tim Henry, and that's who we have right now that I can see. So yeah.
Okay. I'm updating those titles. Hopefully, when you refresh your screen, you'll see them. Yes, we are. Rock Rage radio page is dealing with a problem.
Facebook issues.
Yeah, Facebook issues. So we are not live on there. We are live every place else. Periscope, YouTube, our Facebook channels, blah, blah, blah.
All the things. All the other
Do
things.
me a favor, guys. If you're watching right now live, hit the share button, because it's important that the world finds out about bands like Storm Dragon and Reign of Z, and we're going to play Pump 5 here in a couple of minutes. So it's really important that we get the word out about these bands. I should also real quick tell you that you can find you can get some Reign of Z for yourself at reignofz.com, so check them out. Reign of Z they're basically a classic band for this podcast because we love them so much. We play them all the time. So, shout out to Reign of Z, great band. Oh, speaking of shout outs, Wolf's Customs. Get yourself, why would you get on stage with a guitar that just like plain old guitar that like anybody else has, right? You want something that's going to kind of stand out, that's going to get people's attention, that's going to set you apart as a musician. And that's why you want to contact Wolf's Customs at wolfscustoms.online. Chris Thunderwolf Dodson and his wife Raven have been huge supporters of pretty much everything I've ever done. And so we got to give them some props by telling you to go check out the website, wolfscustoms.online. Amazing custom guitar paintings, some great photos there, and great testimonials. So check them out. I want to give a shout out to Wolf's Customs for supporting the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
And one more thing, though, Barb Hilashevsky, I did not see her watching. She made mention that she was. I'm sorry, I can't always see everybody that's on, but thank you for saying something, and I saw you. I didn't see you on here. I'm sorry. I apologize. Wow, something's going on.
When you're doing lives.
Sometimes I can't see it.
Comments get truncated, and you can't always see everything that everybody has said and everything. So I apologize if we've missed anybody. So anyways, so we are talking about years of for the great albums. So what do you got next?
You ready for my next one?
Yes.
1970. So this is going to be like our little lineup again. Let It Be and Hey Jude by the Beatles. Black Sabbath and Paranoid by Black Sabbath. John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band by John Lennon. I know that's not like the greatest thing, but I sort of loved it, so that's why I put it on there. Led Zeppelin 3 by Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin has those, for at least they're like everyone.
Yeah.
That tells you something, doesn't it? I think it's kind of,
All Things Must Pass by George Harrison, and Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs by Derek and the Dominoes. Eric Clapton.
Yeah, Eric Clapton, Derek and the Dominoes. That is also a record that Duane Allman appears on as well, and the outro to Layla is very famously, that is him and Clapton trading off solos. So we had what you run them down again real quick.
Let It Be and Hey Jude, Black Sabbath and Paranoid, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, Led Zeppelin 3, All Things Must Pass, and Layla.
It's one I want to talk about. All Things Must Pass. George Harrison, he only would get. They would only give him one song on each Beatles album. But he wrote all these songs. He was he was as much of a songwriter
He's my
as Lennon and
favorite
McCartney.
Beatle.
Yeah, he was as much of a songwriter as Lennon and McCartney were.
He was fantastic. That was also sort of a bad year for events, though. The Beatles and the Doors broke up, and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin died. So that kind of sucks. But the albums were great that year.
So George releases this album that floored everybody. It it sort of came out of left field because he was the quiet Beatle too, kind of soft-spoken guy, not really involved in a whole bunch of scandals, or he didn't die and that have a double replace him, or
Hey, I don't even believe
didn't marry somebody who broke up the band or anything like that. He was he was just kind of
He's in the background.
Although the famous controversy in his life was the fact that his wife, Eric Clapton, was in love with Eric Clapton, his best friend, was in love with his wife, and everybody knew it. And eventually, she left him and married Eric, and that marriage fell apart too.
And then, Eric kicked her to the curb too.
So George releases this album, and it's just got one amazing song after another on it. And if you're not familiar with that record, you should go check it out because it's just a beautiful thing that happened. So great year, 1970. So what's next?
I'm going to do an 80s one now.
Oh my God! Finally,
1984. Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. 1984 by Van Halen. Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Power Slave by Iron Maiden. See, I have to mention them in every single podcast. Grace Under Pressure by Rush.
Wow.
And Prince, Purple Rain.
did you say Like a Virgin?
I did not say Like a Virgin because I did not add that on there for a reason.
You don't like Madonna?
I do not.
Madonna.
I don't love Madonna. I'm sorry.
But it was.
It was on.
And it
yes.
one of those records that got all the girls wearing these all these bracelets on their wrist and these certain kind of scarves and
leggings,
lace and all this stuff, and they would all dress like that and go to the mall.
Tease their hair up big.
Yes, they all had mall hair, and that was. You can thank Madonna for that, and it was a total phenomenon.
It sure was.
It was I know you didn't want to mention it because you're not a Madonna fan, but I do praise you or give you an attaboy for mentioning Rush, even though you don't like Rush.
It broke my brain to say it.
It broke my brain. So you couldn't go to Madonna. That was just too much.
We could only have one. That's it.
But I just remember I hated that record. I was just like, oh my God, this is terrible. I was into all the other records that you mentioned.
Of course.
On that list. But I knew every word to Like a Virgin. I knew every word to all the songs that broke on the radio from that record because you couldn't get away from them.
I liked her True Blue album better. I'm just saying.
It was just, that was the thing that and people were freaked out because her name was Madonna, the Virgin, and it was like a the whole thing was honestly, Lily, it's kind of brilliant.
It really was. It really
brilliant.
was.
Like
great
a virgin,
marketing.
I'm like a virgin. I'm not a virgin, but
She's kind of like one.
I'm kind of like a virgin.
She's naked, running
and
around.
I call myself Madonna, and then.
I'm running around on MTV wearing a nightie, basically.
And then in the video, she's rolling around on the floor like she's having some kind of fit.
In a wedding dress.
And everybody was, it was it was brilliant. It really was freaking brilliant. And it was a whole culture. It's the thing that every musician wants to do. It's what the Beatles did. It's what Elvis did. You want to have this kind of cultural impact. I mean, it's no wonder she became a lot of people kind of said that she's kind of full of herself, whatever. Well, it released. I don't know if you heard the song she released a year or two ago. I'm Madonna, bitch.
Oh, bitch, I'm Madonna. Yeah, I have that on my phone for my sister.
It's well, of course you are.
That's her ringtone.
It was completely. It was just huge, and rockers like me and Eric Anthony, Kevin O'Connor, Mike Lober, Bill Thomas, all you guys out there that I went to high school with that listen to the podcast. We were all like pulling our freaking hair out. Why did Jack? This is terrible. Oh my God.
And you all wanted to screw her, though.
And it was a whole thing. But that year also saw the release of some albums that me and my buddies all thought were majorly cool. Namely, 1984 by Van Halen. It had the song Hot for Teacher on it, which was like every... Let's see, 1984, I was a junior in high school. It was every teenage boy's wet dream. And, you know, it's a song that starts out with a drum solo. Like, how amazing is that? It was not a big radio hit, but it was a big MTV hit. The reason people know that song, because it isn't a really kind of poppy kind of tune. It's got this weird talking in it and all this stuff, and a bunch of guitar stuff, but it had an amazing video.
The video was
and that
out
was
of
the
control.
thing you youngsters don't understand. When the video came on TV, there was not like it wasn't like YouTube where you could just everybody pick and choose what they want. No. It was if you
had to wait.
Yes,
You had to wait for your song.
and you watched MTV. And what was cool about that was, you know, there were bands that maybe I wouldn't have picked out as bands that I would have wanted to listen to, but I saw the videos enough that I kind of ended up liking them. Bands like, bands like Men at Work grew on me. Some of those kind of like poppy, new wavy kind of acts really kind of like grew because I watched. David Bowie had this really long video for a song that he did called Blue Jean, which was not like my favorite song, but I ended up really liking the song. So there's a lot of stuff you ended up kind of getting exposed to that broadened your sort of horizons. And yes, there were pop songs by people like Cyndi Lauper that I ended up going like, oh, this is kind of cool. It kind of broadened my horizons. But you did not hear, which Metallica album was it?
Ride the Lightning.
That record was, you had to be in a certain clique to know that record. That was not because the radio stations didn't play it. They didn't have any videos. You had to kind of be, and how I found out about that album was I had students, I was teaching guitar lessons, and I had students that would bring that record and say, check this out. So, that, and then, of course, the two biggest records that really kind of changed everything was Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA and Prince's
Purple Rain.
Purple Rain. And I told you we were going to talk about another sort of record that kind of changed everybody's idea of what a record is, and that was Purple Rain. What the Beatles did not do with Sgt. Pepper's was they did not make a movie.
Yes, they did.
They did?
Yes.
No, there's a movie called Sgt. Pepper's, but it's by the Bee Gees.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's still that.
Okay? Prince actually made his own movie about Purple Rain. And so, again, every song on it is a great standalone tune.
I love that album.
But it also has this other context, which may or may not have to do that so much to do with his real life or not. His history. We don't, to this day, I don't think we really know. And that's fine with me. Just absolutely, that record just blew my mind. As a musician, as a young musician trying to understand what was going on in music, that guitar intro to When Doves Cry, I was like, whoa, what just happened here? If you don't know it, or you're a guitar player and you don't know it, go back and listen to that. There's that guitar thing in the beginning is just like, it's
out of
some
control.
sick stuff, yeah. And then on Let's Get Crazy, he does the big thing at the end.
Oh, that's my favorite.
He does the thing with the phase shifter and the crazy Hendrixy kind of solo at the end of that. So, you know, it's a good guitar album. That's a lot of people don't really see today. Pop music has virtually no guitar in it. It's all produced inside a computer. But this was when pop artists, even Madonna had a band. You know, they would tour and everything. But this is when pop artists had 4 or 5 guys that actually played music, or girls that actually played music with them. They weren't just singing to a DJ in a whatever. So it was really a magical year. I'll never forget it as long as I live. What do you got next?
Next is 1973. So we're back a decade. Albums released that year were Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John, Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin, Quadrophenia by The Who,
Led Zeppelin again.
Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings, New York Dolls by the New York Dolls, The Wild, The Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle and the Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey by Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Greetings from Asbury Park. I just, that's the album that ultimately he was able to get signed with. The record he did before that, the record label said, we don't want this record. Write something we can play on the radio. So, and then The Wild, what's it called again? The Wild?
The Wild, The Innocent, and E Street Shuffle.
Right. So that record, Greetings from Asbury Park that's the record that kind of got him he's the next Dylan. But the record after that, the E Street Shuffle, that record really showcases the band as like this rock and roll machine. People had not heard. This was totally unique. We have been listening to Southside Johnny, and we've been listening to John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, and we know John Mellencamp, and we've had all these artists that are heavily influenced by Springsteen. But Springsteen did it freaking first. And when that came out, people were like, jaw on floor. Oh my God, what is this? It blew everybody's mind. Killer songwriting with this amazing band. It was something that needed to happen in rock. There was a lot of not that the Beatles, Led Zeppelin weren't killer songwriters and great bands, but this idea of this sort of like singer-songwritery kind of guy all of a sudden coming out with this record with this amazing band that just killed everybody was a really exciting thing. I'm kind of going through these a little bit. Led Zeppelin, which one?
Houses of the Holy.
Houses of the Holy. What else do we have on there?
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Okay. Elton. This is the first Elton John record we've talked about.
Yes. It's kind of his last one that was like super important.
Well, and this was the guy that played the piano. We really hadn't had a piano player, rock and roll piano player, this out there. Now there were others. Revere Dick, who was the leader of Paul Revere and the Raiders, was a piano player, and there have been other. Jerry Lee Lewis was the guy I'm thinking of before that. But Elton John was kind of like the new Killer. He was super flamboyant. He played the piano like Jimi Hendrix played the guitar, and he wrote these amazing songs. He wasn't just jamming. He just wrote. It was killer songs, and again, it floored everybody. People just didn't know what. We've kind of all heard, and done it all at this point. But when these records came out, they blew everybody away. What else was on that? 73?
Quadrophenia.
Quadrophenia, The Who again, and what else?
Band on the Run.
Band on the Run. Paul McCartney breaking. We had a couple of John Lennon solos on here. That was a really important record as well.
Dark Side of the Moon. Do we really need to talk about it?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Dark Side of the Moon. Oh my God. Okay, Dark Side of the Moon. I don't want to get into that because we'll be here all night. We're going to play Pump 5, and then we're going to come back and wrap up. Let me get this back to the beginning. Pump 5, Painted Flowers on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
Scream out loud to say I'm feeling think I should die. And I think I should die. Painted flowers along me all the time. Lonely on, just painted flowers along me on the inside.
That is a band called Pump 5 that I met at this past year's Rockin' Pod in Nashville. Down there in Nashville. You want to go to pump5band.com. We opened the show with Storm Dragon. Stormdragon.bandcamp.com. We played a little Reign of Z, as always, reignofz.com. So we're going to hit one or two more here, and we are going to move on to the post-podcast party over at LouLombardiRocks.com. Go to LouLombardiRocks.com, and you can find out, you can get right in. Our website's LoudiniRock'n'RollCircus.com, and a shout-out to Wolf's Customs. Wolf's Customs.online. David custom paints a guitar for you, and if you like it, or if you get out,
Wow.
down in California. The Terminator.
You're done.
Come with me if you want to live.
All right. Anyway,
Go to Will's Customs if you want to live.
I hate you. Anyway, so we're going to talk about 1982, Thriller, Combat Rock by The Clash, The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, Toto 4 by Toto, Prince 1999, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, I Love Rock and Roll, Rush, Signals, and Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. That's all I got on that list.
Wow. Thriller.
That's quite a mix. That's quite a mix.
We're running out of time, so I can't really get into all those. But just Thriller. I mean, okay.
It's the best-selling album of
Okay,
all
listen.
I'm listening.
Listen. We had Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on the list. We had Dark Side of the Moon on the list. We've had almost every Led Zeppelin album on the list. And we've had Thriller. We had Imagine by John Lennon. We had Ride the Lightning. These albums are trend-setting, groundbreaking records that defined what music, pop music and rock music, were going to be. End of story. That's all I can say about that. I mean, Thriller, if, you know, we could do an entire podcast on the importance of Thriller. I mean, our audience might hate us for it, but you got to give credit where credit's due, and it just changed it. And plus, Eddie Van Halen's on that record, so shut up.
So
And
shut
you
it.
mentioned Toto, and they are the backup band.
Legit.
Yep.
I know. And, of course, Iron Maiden again, because I do that.
Earn.
Earn.
Cold. Oh, I got to tell you something. And then only guys from Pittsburgh will understand the importance of this. And I took a photo of it, and I'll post it on social media later. But I was listening to Little Steven's Underground Garage today, and I looked down at my radio, and they were playing the Iron City House Rockers.
Were they really? Little Grishecki.
Jay Grishecki and House Rockers.
That's
but it was
awesome.
there when they were
The
the Iron City House Rockers,
Yeah.
which at the time was the only album to ever get 5 stars in Rolling Stone.
That's kind of awesome.
So anyway, so let's go to another. Let's cram one or two more in here.
All right, 1977, The Clash, Rumors, Fleetwood Mac, Nevermind the Bollocks, here's the Sex Pistols by the Sex Pistols, Low and Heroes by David Bowie, The Idiot Iggy Pop, Bad Out of Hell, Meatloaf, and Animals, Pink Floyd.
Okay, we talked about Bruce Springsteen. Essentially, that's the now. If Toto plays on Thriller, the E Street Band is the band on Bat Out of Hell.
It's all like
It's
mixed.
just like, well, that's what you do when you want to. Okay, we want to put together an amazing. So you get Todd Rundgren to produce it, and he plays guitar on it, and then they bring in the E Street Band to play the rest of the stuff. It is the East. Go look it up. It's Max Weinberg on drums, Gary Talon on bass. It is the band. It is that band playing those songs, written by Jim Steinman.
and there it is.
That's another one of those records. It's all killer, no filler.
Yep.
It's every song on it
That's
is
legit
like
too.
totally awesome. I don't know what else I can say about that. But so you got one more before we roll out?
I guess I'll end on the 90s, even though I hate them. But 1994. Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails, Dookie by Green Day, Definitely Maybe by Oasis, Ill Communication by the Beastie Boys. I know that's technically rap, but that was sort of an important album at the time. Vitalogy, I always say this wrong, by Pearl Jam, Weezer, Live Through This by Hole, Super Unknown, Soundgarden, Smash, The Offspring. So they're all, some of them are sort of similar, but this at the time was what, albums were coming out. So.
Super Unknown is I liked Bad Motorfinger a little better
I did too.
because I just think it has more of feet planted a little bit more in classic rock. But Super Unknown is really brilliant, and there's all kind of cool tunings and alternate time complex time signatures and whatnot on there.
And Aerosmith's big ones. I forgot about that.
But it's not the greatest hits.
Doesn't matter. I like it.
Wow, as long as Lily likes it.
That's all that really should matter. Quite honestly, this is all about me, isn't it?
This is the greatest albums by Lily ever. So, anyway, so 1969, 1971, 1991, 1969, 1970, 1984, 1973, 1982, on 1977. Did you mention the first Van Halen album?
Did I? No, probably not. No, because they were not. They were 1978.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
that's
All right,
why.
Okay. All right. I was off 1 year on that. And we ended up with 1994. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. LudiniRock'n'RollCircus.com is our website. Check back often. We are going to the post-podcast party here in a minute. So you want to get prepped for that by going to LouLombardiRocks.com. Click a little button, you get right in. Lily V6, anything you want to mention before we wrap up for today?
Make sure you check out my show, Hot Licks with Lily 6, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern on Rock Rage Radio, rockrageradio.com. I will be going live for 20,000 Metal Dicks on Sunday at the Subalpine, so be sure to check out the live feeds on that. And it's Halloween weekend. That's all.
Oh, yeah, and next week we're going to be on Wednesday night, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, next week we're going to be on Wednesday night because I'm going to see UFO.
And
kids.
it's going to be a Devil's Night, and we're going to be talking about songs about the devil, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, here we
Alex.
go. So, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This is Where Have All the Acid Queens Gone? To catch you guys on the next Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.